In only a few moments, this man will attempt to go from nothing to over 150 miles per hour in under 9 seconds.
We're ready. He's over there. We're ready, Harley. Yeah, son. Go. Go. Go.
This man will soon see his 58th birthday. Yet on this Saturday afternoon, he is straddling a nitromethane burning engine that in a few seconds will generate over 600 horsepower. It uses a blower that was originally designed. This man awaiting his turn at the line will push himself and his dragster to the absolute edge of their capabilities. The sport of Harley-Davidson motorcycle drag racing is in its infancy, but growing by proverbial leaps and bounds. The people involved in this sport now, the mechanics, the owners, the pilots, the sponsors, are the pioneers in an exciting and dangerous adventure, pitting the engineering genius of individuals against the limits of the internal combustion, 4-stroke, 2-cylinder Harley-Davidson engine. The technology to make these drag bikes go faster than they have ever gone before is in the heads of the wrenches, the men and women who experiment and hone the machine after each pass and each race. The majority of the integral parts and the technologies for the bikes are unavailable from factories or parts houses. They must be designed and manufactured, borrowed and refitted to work. We will be following 5 different classes of professional drag bikes in this program. The Pro Stock, Top Gas, B Fuelers, A Fuelers, and Top Fuelers.
Well, this is an A Fuel Harley, runs nitromethane. It's an 82-inch wheelbase, puppet chassis. Runs a 2-speed transmission with fuel injection.
It's a B Fuel bike, and the difference between A Fuel and a B Fuel is we run a high gear, direct drive, no transmission. We use the clutch just to lock the motor up and go. And then we try and make a fuel curve in this carburetor. They have an injection system with pop-outs, so as they need fuel, their pop-offs go in and out with pressures. And so we made a fuel curve with a carburetor with these different enrichers, and then I have buttons on the handlebars that I can hit, make the carburetor richer and leaner, and just make it work better.
Now that you're totally confused, let's take a look at the classes and explain the differences, starting with the Pro Stock. These bikes are strictly for competition. They do resemble street bikes, however, in that you ride them in the sit-up position, and they appear to have lights and a gas tank, but they need not function. They have only one engine and run on gasoline. Top Gas bikes are similar to Pro Stock, except there is no wheelbase restriction, and they're designed to be ridden in a lay-down position with the pilot's feet on foot pegs near the rear axle. The Top Gas bikes need not have lights or conventional fuel tanks. The B Fuelers, as John Markwald explained, differ from the Top Gas in 2 important ways. They are burning nitromethane for fuel instead of gas and have no transmission. They only have one gear. The A Fuel class is similar to the B Fuel in that they use nitromethane, and they utilize only one engine. But the A Fuelers have the option of using a multiple speed transmission, and they could also use fuel injectors if they wish. The Top Fuel class is wide open, as long as they are deemed safe to run by the AMRA technical inspector. Most of the Top Fuelers run nitromethane, although some run alcohol. The majority of Top Fuelers run double engines or single engines with blowers. Any type of fuel intake system is allowed. At a typical AMRA drag race, there are over 100 bikes in the professional classes. From week to week, modifications are constantly being made. From year to year, entirely new bikes are built to new specifications. We're in the heyday of motorcycle drag racing, where the war cry is, the sky is the limit. The bikes are backyard mechanized wonders, there's no doubt, but the men and women of the American Motorcycle Racing Association are definitely a breed apart. One of the cornerstones of motorcycle drag racing is Pete Hill from Greenville, South Carolina. He runs in the top fuel category and is the perennial winner, although many are close on his tail. This year at the 50th anniversary of the Sturgis Bike Week, Pete Hill was inducted into the Motorcycle Hall of Fame.
On November 2nd, 1932, when Desi Hill gave birth to a baby boy named Carl Thomas Hill, who would have known he would have grown up to be Pete Hill, motorcycle racer. If you asked his two sisters, they would probably have told you about his fascination with motorcycles. One Christmas parade in his hometown was all it took. He was totally fascinated by those two-wheeled machines that made all the noise and went fast. This excitement never ended for him either. When he got to be a teenager, the first thing on his mind was to find himself a Harley Davidson in any shape, just to have it for his own. As luck would have it, Pete would logically guess it wasn't long before the modifications on the engine were to be top priority. His best friend has a Triumph, and Pete had to outrun him. Speed parts weren't easy to come by. But someone in California was marketing a dual carburetor, the setup that he read about in Cycle magazine. It was outrageously priced for someone in his financial position. But get it, he did. He made his own. The Triumph was history.
And we had a local hot rod club. It's a car, hot rod club, but the guy was very progressive that got the city fathers to donate a little strip of abandoned road every Sunday to get the guys off the street mainly and do some drag racing. And of course, in my part of the country, down south, there's a lot of hopped up cars of transport, and they bring those out, and the motorcycles hold their own, against the cars, the hot rod, in those days.
Motorcycle against.
Yeah, oh yeah, and you didn't have any timing equipment. It was just all flag them off, and a guy down at the finish line says, "You won." And it had field telephone wires strung out down the side of the road.
In 1988, Pete was the fourth Harley Davidson in the world to run a 4-second eighth mile. This was quite an accomplishment for us, and definitely one of the highlights. This was at Clarksville Drag Strip in Tennessee. Also, Pete won the #1 plate for AMRA that year, and again in 1989. In October of 1989, he again went to Tennessee and set a world record for Harleys on this same strip, 4.75 seconds in an eighth mile.
Well, this bike's going 180. This is a new bike this year. Basically, it's the same motor, transmission, blower, and injection, everything I've run for a lot of years, but we changed from tip to tip. New chassis, wheels, everything. It's a new bike.
The burnout on Main Street in Sturgis has to be another highlight. It just happened, but the reaction we've had from people over the years about this is unbelievable. The crowd loved it, the promoters of the race loved it, and Pete loved it.
Pump the race, the promoter decided to parade a few of us downtown, and hand out flyers. Well, naturally all the bikers down there want, why don't you crank them up, And no, you can't do that, And after about an hour or so, everybody said, crank them up. Well, the promoter said, would you crank it up, And I said, yeah, but, we might be incarcerated, you might have to bail us out. And he said, oh, I'd take care of anything like that. So I said, okay. So back then we used rollers, and a friend of mine had his van close at hand, and we put the rollers out right at the top of Main Street up there at the pharmacy, and did a burnout across there, and real quick before the police got there. I don't think they would have liked that too well, Yeah. And my van was down a couple of blocks, and I just kept coasting. I didn't even stop. I heard a bullhorn in the background say a few things, but I just kept going.
It's nice to have these notches on your belt, but if it weren't for the friends and fans met and enjoyed, it wouldn't be nearly so good. He has always said his main goal in life is to be liked by his friends in racing and by the other people he meets. Maybe this induction into the Hall of Fame indicates he has succeeded in his endeavor. If so, he says, thanks to all of you. Pete Hill.
Some of Pete's keen competitors are quickly taking over the limelight. Foremost is Gary Tater Gilmore with his beautiful bike, the Chrome Horse, with 2 engines. Although the engine designs in the top fuel class differ radically from bike to bike, the speeds in miles per hour and the elapsed times, which are recorded in seconds, are extremely close among the top competitors. In the quarter mile, Tater Gilmore, Pete Hill, Jack Romine, and Kevin O'Malley, for instance, all can expect to reach speeds in excess of 170 miles per hour. In the 8th mile, they all group close to the 150 mile per hour mark. The difference between the first and last in this class is the razor's edge, and minute changes and last-minute adjustments can mean the difference between winning and losing. How much horsepower is generated by a top fuel machine?
Around 600 horse, between 6 and 650 horse. So it should be enough. If I get it to the ground, it should work.
This is going to be quite a match. We're looking at a pair of twin Evos, big twin Evos, 224 inches in Gary Gilmore's bike from Spencer, Iowa, up against 184 cubic inches of Sportsters, and Jack Romine's bike out of Sturgis, Michigan. Hamlin's Harley Davidson out of Sturgis, Michigan, the sponsor on the 184 combined 2 Sportster motorbike of Jack Romine. That's the one marked number 53. The Coors Light Special, one marked number 2, Gary Tater Gilmore from Spencer, Iowa. What we're doing right now, them girls, yeah, they're out there. We're putting this thing on television. That's what's going on. It's going on tape for television next week. So they're out in the middle watching. Watch these girls hold their ears. I'll bet you when Tater lights this one up and Jack Romine on the left, you're going to see a whole bunch. 224 inches on the right, 184 inches on the left, Sportsters on the left, big twin double Evos on the right, Gilmore on the right, Romine on the left. They're both pre-staged. Watch them balls. They're both staged. Good clean start. Oh, looks like Romine's got him. Looks like Romine's got him. This could be the upset. Tater's hanging on to it. Tater, hang on. He got off it. Romine looks like he's got it. 779. 165.88. Tater takes the second place with 856 and 158.63. Just in time, Tater got it off it. He was off that track center line so far to the left, he started going in the wobble. He got back on and put some weight on that front end so he could steer it, and they're both making a clean pass off the back end. Looking at a brand new number, 779.
On this pass, Jack Romine ran at a world record time of 7.79 seconds. To establish this time as an official world record for the top fuel class, the pilot must back up the run within 2% at the same meet. Unfortunately for Jack, this was the last match at the Harley homecoming race at the Great Lakes Dragaway, and he would be unable to make another pass to back it up. This rule exists to prevent flukes from becoming world records. The records for all classes at the AMRA are indicative of the pilot's skills and the machine's ability. You'll notice that Jack Romine's bike has 2 engines, like most of the machines that run in the top fuel class. This produces a lot of horsepower, as Tater Gilmore said, but it does pose some difficult problems. Both motors must be synchronized in order to prevent the chain that connects the two from breaking. To keep tension on the chain, the front motor must lead the back by a few degrees of timing. The A-fuelers, as we noted earlier, have only one motor, but that doesn't mean they're necessarily slower. Some of these machines reach speeds in excess of 150 miles per hour in the 8 mile and well over 170 miles per hour in the quarter mile. Because these A-fuelers have only one engine, they are considerably lighter than their top fuel cousins. This weight problem accounts for some inventive designing on the A-fuel machine. This designing is evident in the positioning of the pilot. The chassis allows him to sit lower to the ground, offering a lower center of gravity. The A-fuel dragster also sports substantially more aerodynamic styling. It's evident in the design of the fender seat combinations, tank styling, and airfoils.
Four of the best of the best right now, and another couple of seconds, we're only going to have two best of the best in the A-fuel class, and we'll be down to the finals. One of these guys will be in the finals, no two ways about it, either Larry Ring or Alan Peterson. And I'll tell you, this is so close you can't believe it. Number 5 plate on this bike right now. This is number 5 national placement last year. And Larry Ring with the number 2 plate, number 2. So we got number 2 and number 5 man, the best of the best from 1989. Right now into the semifinals, one of them is going to get taken out. Could be either one here, too. This is very, very, very close matching. This is going to be a very good race. This could be decided in reaction time. We'll let you know the reaction times, but it could be decided in reaction times before they even leave the line. Peterson at right lane taking ring out 5:39 at right lane 135.95. What did I tell you? It was reaction time. Next two coming up, this is Monty Mathias, the dirty white boy out of Rockford, Illinois, the number 6707. Micro Mine, Sturgis, Michigan, number 4 plate 6707. Micro Mine, Sturgis, Michigan, 114 cubic inches of revolution motor, focus to the tower. Mathias, 115 cubic inches shovel head fathers from the tower. Both of them carrying them bulletproof Deltron cases, two sponsors. Well, same sponsor on two bikes, Deltron cases on Monty Mathias from Rockford, Illinois, Deltron cases on Micro Mine from Sturgis, Michigan. Monty Mathias, sponsored by MC Fabrication, the Rockford, Milwaukee Harley, two-wheel in, Roswell, and also those Deltron cases we're talking about. Micro Mine sponsored by Deltron, high performance weekend frame, Tom Dave machine. 1990 motor with evolutions in the right lane. State-of-the-art public frame, 1990, whole 1990 bike here. Monty Mathias with the shovel head in the left lane, fluid frame. See the differences in the frame, sitting so much lower in the frame on the right. A couple of years makes a whole lot of difference in these motorcycles. State-of-the-art in that right lane. You're looking at a $30,000, $35,000 motorcycle in the right lane. Second even pass, almost in a force, 5 second at 136.77.
These A-fuelers put out a tremendous amount of horsepower. Hopefully all that horsepower goes directly to the tire and then to the ground. It doesn't always work like that, however. Before the power can be applied to the ground, it must pass through a clutch, a transmission, and a chain that turns the rear wheel. Any of these can be the weak link in the powertrain, as Micro Mine, Jack's brother, finds out. Mike's problem was a good one, if there could be such a thing. His engine was running well and simply producing more horsepower than his chain could handle. Something had to be altered. No one wants to reduce the amount of horsepower the engine is putting out. Perhaps a bigger chain was the answer.
They got, a bunch of 530 chains. 530 spark, that'll be it.
Micro Mine closes the power sponsored by Deltron, high performance, weekend frame company down in Texas, Tom Day Machine, Alan Peterson from Detroit, Iowa, The number 5 motorcycle, sponsored by Axtel Sales, North Pole Lounge, becomes a 96 cubic inch Revolution Sportster up against 100.
A few adjustments here and there, either a new different chain, the alignment of the drivetrain, or maybe reducing the amount of bite that the tire has on the track surface will usually take care of the problem.
We are in that full tree. Thank you. No jump this time. Good deal. Nice spot.
Or maybe not.
Oh, Lord, but he's out there first with a 525, 134, 32. We got a chain on the track here, guys. Don't fire no more. We got parts on the track.
Obviously, everyone in drag racing breaks down. But in the fueler classes, top A and B fuelers, the problem is staggering. These guys are flushing nitro into the cylinders in such amounts that sometimes the engines are referred to as nitro toilets. Detonating this extreme amount of nitromethane produces power and thrust that can really tear an engine apart. And these bikes aren't cheap to repair.
Oh, we got a new vent hole in it. Oh, well. See if we can make Clarksville. What happened? Don't know. Something. Too much of this, too much of that, and it just caught up to it. Over the years, you know, over this season, I've been pushing it, and this time I pushed it a little too far. So, next time, see if we can get it together for Tennessee finals. I don't know if I got enough parts, but we'll give it a shot.
Got it, so you're out of it today?
Yeah, oh yeah.
No way to get it back together?
No, I ain't got a spare. Wish I did. Yeah, don't know which went first though, you know. But, yeah, front rod snapped and just came apart with it. So see what happens. Take a good look at it, see if I screwed up or what happened. I don't know. We'll find out.
Although Bob has a great attitude, deep down he's worried about the cost to repair his bike and get it on the track next week and continue the national points chase.
That's one of the things that was anticipated going into this class. Ran a gas bike for a couple of years and you didn't anticipate it, but going into the nitro class, the amount of fuel and the way you have to run them to go fast is that's part of it. It's not much you can do. You know.
Despite the disappointment of a blown engine, Bob is really lucky. He walked away from what the racers term a grenaded motor, and the name says it all.
All right, hang on to the seats in the stands. Here we go. We've got 8 that have got direct drive B fuelers coming out. They're going to take each other out to the tune of 4 in a few seconds. This first pairing should be a good one. The number 1 qualifier, 233, with the pilot from the double bike, Jack Romine, piloting Denny Williams' bike. This should be very, very good. Williams Cycle Shop, the owner, LA Cycles out of Whitestown, Indiana, sponsoring. Tom Day out of Indianapolis. Custom Chrome, Bob, Pro Class out of Indianapolis, Indiana. They say that bike is for sale. They're building another one. Guess who he's jumped against? The number 2 plate holder from last year, John Markwell. John Markwell out of Andover, Remy Sportster, 120 cubic inch Evolution. Can't dig it. Jack Romine piloting the brand new Evolution motor. Belonging to Williams Cycle Shop and LA Cycles and sponsors in the right lane. The number 1 qualifier, the number 233 bike. Markwell with a 443. Left lane cross on that one, boy. Automatic window in the 233 lane cross.
B-fuel bikes are a little less expensive because they don't have those expensive multiple-speed transmissions like the A-fuelers. But there's no such thing as a cheap fueler. Because these fuelers don't have a transmission, a lot hinges on the way the clutch locks up. The clutch system for B-fuelers is a closely guarded secret among the racing teams. But Bob Sutherland explains the principle to us.
Right, yeah. In the nitro class, and the B-fuelers, which are high gear only, and the A-fuelers, which are multi-speed trans and injected, and the top fuelers, which are with the bigger engines, blown or double, the horsepower that's being made is unable to be controlled through a conventional clutch, would be a hand clutch that everybody's used to. So they had a design to come up with a slipper clutch that allows for slippage through acceleration. Because the horsepower being made would be no way being able to get it to the ground with the materials being manufactured today. Everything would just bust if the guy just tried dropping a clutch and making anywhere from 300 to 600 horsepower. Everything would just snap. So they designed a slipper clutch that works off a centrifugal force, changing it over into a horizontal movement. And as you can see on the bike, there's one on there already. In fact, this is a prototype 2-stage that I have designed on it. These are the arms for the centrifugal clutch. As the RPM picks up, these will actually be moved outward, moving a plate on the inside, pushing it inward against the clutch pad, thus making your pressure to lock up the clutch. And through either the spring tension or your weights is how much force you'll get on your clutch pad. So you have to pick out the right combination of centrifugal weight, either by number of washers or bolts, and how much spring tension. Spring tension also controls your stall speed, at what time the point the clutch is going to come in. This one, in fact, this clutch I'm working with right now is a prototype 2-stage. Not only is there a primary clutch, which are the 3 white fingers, but the blue ones are a secondary clutch plate. Identical to the first, but it's put positioned behind the first plate, allowing when the bike leaves the line, it's working off the primary clutch, allowing the slippage. And approximately halfway to 3/4 down the track, the second weights kick in and lock up the clutch totally, allowing for full grab at about top end of the track, where I'm getting maximum RPM to tire combination, where the bike really starts pulling hard. These type of clutches are kind of trying to get them to lock up with the amount of horsepower is difficult. You never really know. So everybody's been practicing and trying stuff. I come up with my own design on this clutch, and it seems to be working. Between my design and helping with the one company I've worked with, which is Promoco Specialties, we designed this clutch, and it seems to be working quite well. You've seen some of the races where the guys will be doing a burnout off the line, and you'll see them just keep on going, and the announcer will tell you, oh, the guy's clutch locked up. Okay, in that instance, these clutches have to be maintained more frequently than any hand clutch. They have an excessive amount of build-up material on the inside through the plate wear, and also the dirt itself will get in here and lock these arms open. They will come out and actually lock through the dirt buildup. When there's too much clearance and too much dirt during a burnout, the arms will come all the way out and stay locked. In this instance, the clutch will be locked up solid as if it was a hand clutch, and they won't go back in. There's nothing you can do. The only thing you can do is just either drive it all the way down the track, wait till you get to the end of the track to get it off, and then try to get back in to get them loose, or just back off the throttle and let the engine kill out there. There's nothing you can do. It's locked up, it's locked up.
So far, we've talked about the top fuel, A fuel, and B fuel bikes. And certainly the sound of nitro exploding in the cylinders excites the crowd and adds the awesome factor to drag racing. We forget sometimes that the top gas bike runs at speeds very close to the B fuelers. But to attain such speeds and times, they cannot rely on the horsepower generated by nitromethane. They must tune and test the conventional gas-powered engine until it is producing every bit of usable power. These bikes run like a precision watch, and knowledgeable spectators can appreciate a top gas race because of this.
Okay,
bike I built myself. The frame I purchased from Bonnie Truitt, Wichita, Kansas, in 1987. And each year we just add a little more to them, so we finally, hopefully you can be competitive. Top gas is really a competitive class. There's a lot of bikes in it. It's kind of at the borderline where if you get it, the next step is in the B fuel. And once you go into the fuel class, then you've got to really have some money and sponsors that can really help you out, because it's a very expensive sport.
Sponsored by Woolworths, Harley Davidson, CCI, Warren's Custom Plating, High Performance out of Des Moines. That's where Fred Ringer works, J&P Promotions. Fred's got that number 2 plate. He was nationally number 2 in the United States last year with this top gas laydown bike. Barely, just losing out on number 1 at Dave Williams that's in the crowd today. And Dave Williams not active this year, pursuing some plates. Fred Ringer carrying the number 2 plate. He's up against Tony Galindo carrying the number 5546 plate. Galindo on the inside, 114 cubic inches. Fred Ringer on the outside with that Sportster. Shubster actually big one top end at 107 inches. Oh, look at that. Nice start by Tony Galindo. Can he hold it? No, there goes Ingram on the outside. But Ingram fouled, so the automatic win going to Tony Galindo in the right lane at 6:53. Bob Tapp closest to the tower. Henry Roblick farthest from the tower. This is a top gas class right now. Henry Roblick sponsored by Corn Cycle Service. Oh, Tapp is going to make it down there first, the number 60 bike. He does 5:71.
The Top Gas crews use the highest technology available to give them a competitive edge, like this new computerized RPM tracking system.
This tells me what he did in the course of the run. Replaying the run. See, this here records the run. He comes back and hands me the computer, and I can watch it here and tell me what he shifted at, how the bike reacted during the course of the run. Tells me his shift points and everything.
Is this a rerun of the track?
Yeah. Right. It tells me everything the bike did from the time it was started to the time to shut it off. $6 grand. 6.5. 7. It's not bad at all. It's not bad at all. This way we can, look at our time slips, and then we can come back in here and compare the two on the course of the run. And if we missed something, or with all of us watching, it's all recorded too, so we can go back and play it back. And see, we took the tack off the bike because the vibrations of the bike was so intense it was killing the tacks. And besides, you don't have time to look at it anyway. So, right. Well, see, there's a light here. That's a shift light, and it's tapped into our timing. And so I've got a computer chip in there that tells that light to come on at 6:04, and when that light comes on, he just pushes the button. Modern technology, it's great.
Toys and games.
Yep.
The difference in record times between the top gas class and the Pro Stock is often in the tenths of seconds, and there is often more shouting and cheering from the stands for this class than for the nitro bikes. That's because these bikes are ones that the average spectator can relate to. They look pretty much like the Harley he rode to the race on, and they are ridden in much the same manner. Again, the main restriction in the Pro Stock class is the wheelbase, and because the wheelbase is smaller, it must be ridden in the upright position. To do otherwise would be unstable. The Pro Stock class is not only a learning and experience building class, which is intermediate between the street class and the all-out competition of the top gas class, but is extremely competitive in its own right.
Checking the transmission, and we're checking the plug reading. We're probably going to change the jet because the air was thin and now it's thinner. The air started out poor and then it tapered off. Gas. So get the gas can. Let's put some gas in here. We won a round. We got to run another round. We're going to put some gas in. So how did you do the first round? I won the first round. 10:28. 126 miles an hour. No, that's not good, but it's good. It was good enough for that round today. Probably won't be good enough for the next round, but it was good enough for the last round. Really? No, she don't do it. Number 2 at 6:21.
This is a very uncommon occurrence. But remember, the person who wins is the one who crosses the finish line first, even though he, or in this case, she, has a lower ET and a higher speed. This is because Lori was slow leaving the line, which is called reaction time. Watch carefully.
I don't think she's going to do it this time. Well, she might be catching up. No, she don't do it. Number 2 at 6:21.
The reasons for the increasing popularity in Harley-Davidson drag racing are varied. One factor is the men and women that pour their lives into pushing these machines to the max. Another factor is the excitement of seeing these bikes reach speeds unthought of just a few years ago. But perhaps the most important factor is the awesome factor. The sound of nitro exploding like small charges of dynamite in the cylinders of radically altered Harley-Davidson engines. It's also the smell of tire smoke permeating the crowd after a burnout that only these bikes can produce. And it's the ground-pounding vibrations that only an American-made Harley-Davidson can produce.
You're going to have to watch this pretty closely. This is going to be pretty good. 2 fuel runs, the last 2 fuel runs of the day we have going right now. The B fuel run first, the direct drive. We're running John Russell out of Willard, Ohio, up against Jack Romine that's piloting Denny Williams' bike, their number 233 entry. No matter which way it goes, when he gets down there, we're going to have to pluck up Jack Romine, whistle him back down to the line again, load him back on the double when he gets to run his brother with the 8 fueler. So we're just going to run 1 fuel run after another. That's never been done before either that I know about. So we're going to see if the human body can take 2 of these fuel runs in a row on Harley Davidson. This should be really good. Right here, a US 131 dragway in Martin, Michigan. Yeah, we were just talking to him down there. He gave us a little wave in the tower over here. That's Jack Romine suiting up, got the gloves on now. He's got the helmet on. He's all set to go on the single engine fuel bike. And we were just asking him, are you sure you can do this? Are you sure you can take this bike down to the end? We'll probably pick him up in the ambulance or one of the vehicles down there, run him back again. And are you sure you're going to have this double ready with your brother and make this pass again with the double, the single engine bike for a warm-up, the single engine fueler, and then be able to take the double for a ride? He says, yeah, you give a big wave to the tower. So I'll tell you what, before this ordeal even starts, I'm going to give this guy a whole lot of credit. This is Jack Romine coming back in the left lane. Ooh, there goes Russell on his burnout, heating that tire up. This is going to be something to watch. LA Cycles in the left lane, Custom Chrome. Sponsor on this one, Custom Chrome, the people sponsoring the 1990 AMRA Tour. Jack Romine, the pilot on the Williams bike now in the first lane. They're bringing them back. Keep in mind now, as soon as he gets to the end, they get these bikes on the side. They're going to whistle them back, and they're going to load them on that double for the next run. So this is going to be something to watch. John Russell in the right lane. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see if Jack Romine can defeat Russell. Russell might defeat Romine. This is going to be very, very close. This is the best of the best. We're getting ourselves a good view right now. I'll tell you what, there's nothing separating these guys right now. These are 1-gear nitro bikes. They're carbureted nitro for fuel. These are direct gear bikes. Watch the times in miles per hour on these. This is the best of the best for the single gear nitro bikes right now. And the man on the left is going to come back and take a double for a ride right after this. So you tell me. Keep an eye on the right ball for free stage on the right and left both. Stage on the right. Russell's ready to go. Romine kicking in. They're both staged. I don't know. It's very close. Very close. We're going to have to watch the board for this. I don't know. Looks like Russell might be pulling away on him. Russell might be pulling away. Left lane, left lane, 858, left lane at 151.17, the number 233 entries. Jack Romine, Russell in the right lane at 150.88, showing 8.672 on the clock up here. John Russell out of Willard, Ohio, puts him in second place in the B fuel class. Jack Romine, if he can still think, they're going to bring him back here, load him on the double now. This is going to be good. Jack Romine is suited back up on the double right now, and he gets to run his brother, the Romine brothers, the Romine family, Romine Racing. They just about got this area tied up. I'll tell you what, I've never seen anything like this. You got the A-fueler now of Mike Romine, and when they start up, it's going to be loud. You got to listen up because this A-fueler is about as big as they go. It's a 1990 Evolution, 114 inches big. They're both running, both bikes running, all 3 engines. Yeah, 3 of them, the double and the single both. Romine family, this is Romine Racing. You see that black truck when it comes here, it says Romine Racing on the side of it. This is the whole ball of wax. This is it. All of it. The double, the single, the A-fueler, the top fueler, the twin sportster, the great big twin out here, the 114-inch Evolution. They got one everything here. Both of them running very, very similar. Both, I don't think I remember any time at all anywhere where both of them been up against each other. They're running basically 2 different classes here, A-fuel and top fuel. We combine them today in both of these guys. Don't do it yet. Come on back here, Jack. Yes, sir. Come on back. I know he wants to go. He wasn't even in the water box there. He just burning that tire up. Tightening him out a little bit. Okay, here we go. Putting the shield down. Mike's already free-staged. He says, come on, I got to go. Free-stage on the right, stage on the right. I don't know what we got here. Yes, sir. He jumped that tree. Only one that's going to show us is 795 on the left lane, 795 at 164.39. What happened on that in the right lane, what we did do, we staged them. When they're staged, the man is triggering the light. Just as he's triggering the light, the double rolled backwards out of the light. That killed that lane right there. There was no red light or anything else. He'd come out of the light just as they tripped that light, and that light never started moving. He was already gone. He left.
We decided to see what it would be like to ride a top fuel Harley. So we strapped a film camera on the front of Pete Hill's bike during an actual elimination run. And this is what it looks like to you in the stands. Let's see that again, and notice that the finish line comes up quick, in less than 5 seconds to be exact.
Like they always tell you, once you go into nitro class, you'll never go back to a gas class. There's just no way I would go back to a gas, no matter how many of these I blow up. Yeah. Past the thrill going down the track when you climb on one of these is definitely worth it. And you can ask that to any guy that runs nitro, and they'll say the same thing. There's just no way you can go back.
The awesome factor is the sights, sounds, and smells of nitromethane burning drag bikes, sporting the Harley emblem, and racing with the most exciting racing organization in the world, the American Motorcycle Racing Association.